All right, this is our second thing, and this is talking about grassroots movements and also government change and how that went about. So first off, we have a couple of groups. The first one is called the Salvation Army. Both of these groups, the other one I'm going to mention as well, are large part volunteer organizations, soup kitchens, things like that. You can donate to the Salvation Army, donate to the YMCA. And so this was a way for people to actually get help. Now the Salvation Army, and you can tell by salvation, is actually a Christian thing. Kind of falls into the social gospel movement. But there's many, many ways that the Salvation Army will help out. The other group, as I before mentioned, was the Young Men's Christian Association, or YMCA. Notice again, social gospel, that Christian aspect. And again, so both of these groups, you're able to go and get services to help yourselves out if you're in a bad time. Because a lot of Americans were in a bad time, and we saw that through the Gilded Age. Now, grassroots movement. Most of these movements in progressivism were grassroots. That meant it started at a local level, became a big, big, big issue. It went to the state, and the state made a big deal about it, then regional, and then finally the nation decided. Case in point, temperance. Temperance started in Cleveland. They wanted to get rid of it. Carrie Nation kind of carried it down into Kansas and places like that, and then eventually, over time, the president and the Congress decided, hey, we need to ban alcohol. Okay, grassroots movement. Now, a couple of amendments that we need to talk about prior to this. They're examples of grassroots movements. The first is the 16th Amendment. This is part of the Populists. Remember the Populists, they did want a progressive income tax. That means the more you make, the more you end up paying. And this is why our income tax system works as it does. Without this, there have been a lot of questions of can you income tax, can you tax the people on money they made. That was a big thing. They're saying it wasn't going back. But it was grassroots, because it started with the Populists, and now it's in our Constitution. So you have to pay your income taxes. If not, they will fine you. Another example of a grassroots amendment, if you will, is the 17th. This is the direct election of senators. Again, a populist idea. So the populists and progressives are really intertwined there. What's the difference? Progressives got things done, right? Populists just maybe had an idea. So if you know anything about our electoral college and how we select the president, you do not directly elect the president. You simply are telling the electoral college who you'd like them to vote for. This is why every year you have something called a popular vote and electoral college vote. Electoral college vote is really the one that matters, gets people elected. However, 17th Amendment, when your senator, who directly comes from you, there's only 2 from each state, you directly elect them. And so this was a compromise to get people to feel like they were part of a government and not just part of this machine that really didn't do anything. Okay? Now, we're going to move into changing politics, and so we have to talk about reform governors before we talk about the presidents coming up next. Now, one of the big reform governors was Robert M. Lafayette. Called him Fighting Bob. Okay? And he is governor of Wisconsin. Because Wisconsin with the Packers go Packers cheeseheads. All right, if you're from Wisconsin, I'm sorry. But Robert M. Lafayette had a couple pet peeves. Number one, he really didn't like the power the railroads had. So he's going to try to make things happen. Now, because of what he did, Wisconsin gained the nickname the Lab of Democracy. In other words, he would try it, and there you can see Robert M. Lafayette, and he's trying out something. And if it worked for Wisconsin, it generally ended up on the radar of Congress, and they wanted to pass it. So this is why we call it the Lab of Democracy, Robert M. Lafayette, etc. Now we have a horrible hurricane down in Texas, in Galveston, which is on the coast, in South Padre Island, and it basically destroyed this whole community. Now, why is that such a big deal? It actually exposed a lot of flaws in the current way of doing things, and that is rampant cronyism. That means you have all these people you owe money to. Spoil systems is still active, and all these things. So a lot of local governments are going to begin to institute what is called the commissioner style of government. Now, I call this the Batman style of government, right? I'm Batman. Not really. But if you've seen Batman, you know Commissioner Gordon is the police commissioner, right? He's not in charge of the city. He's in charge of the police. So commissioner style government, you have a mayor, somebody like that, and he will divide his responsibilities to these commissioners. Maybe sanitation, maybe what, I don't know. Okay? They're in charge of doing that. They're giving full reign, and they basically meet with the mayor or whoever and say, hey, we want to do this, we need money for this, we need funds for this, and he'll say yay or nay. But that was the big idea of commissioner style of government, all right? So that was video 2. You got one more.